Hasan saying you don't know anything about insurance or direct and indirect violence at 1950.
It's a very strange way to operate, but I guess...
Lowbro still talking about me?
And cognizant of their anger. What is this? His ass is getting cooked in his own house? This guy, so many people here think that he has good policy ideas. He's making a complete straw man in order to defend the U.S. insurance system.
This, okay. Let me know. You sit at your computer, and this is what happens. A thing comes in, and it goes, oh, doctor is requesting this, okay? And then they have another screen, and it says, here are our standards of care, and here's what we provide. And then you look at this, you make sure there are no contraindications for the prescription or the treatment or whatever, and then as long as everything matches, then you click OK, approve, or you see there's a contraindication or there's some other thing you suggest first, you go, oh, okay, deny. That's how it is. The CEO is not walking up and down the aisles and being like, oh, that must deny that, we need to make more money on it.
I oftentimes wonder, like, who this is for.
There's also probably a lot of automated systems. It's not everybody, but...
Deny. That's how it is. The CEO is not walking up and down the aisles and being like, oh, that must deny that, we need to make more money on it.
I oftentimes wonder, like, who this is for. Whenever I hear commentary like this, where I just don't understand it, like, what's the purpose here?
Like, I literally have a friend, and this was literally her job, and I've literally watched her do this before, but I guess we can... Okay.
Because becoming a hyper-specific, ultra-autistic process guy in this situation doesn't change the dynamic, doesn't change the reception. It doesn't, like, people still have their claims denied, and the CEO in this situation is just a standalone figure that is signing off on all of those actions. He's at the...
Do you think the CEO signs off on every single claim denial, or does he just mean, in broadly speaking, the CEO is responsible for them as the CEO of the company? Yeah, I mean, broadly speaking, you say that, but again, you have to show that, like, are the denials for wrongful purposes? Are the denials higher than you'd expect them to be in this industry for, like, whatever given procedures? Like,
the tippy top, okay? Like, this person didn't kill him because the CEO directly fucking immediately went into the fucking files and was like, deny that person's, like, back injury claims. Like, I think this is a part of...
Do you even know why he killed him? I don't think there was anything personal even implicated with this guy. He was just another rich kid with a chip on his shoulder.
Of what a lot of debate lords do, where they just, like, want to always be right, and they want to also always be contrarian. So when there isn't anything that you can grab onto, you just get, like, ultra specific. It's like, well, the CEO directly is not causing this. It's like, well, no, the CEO is responsible. That's why he gets paid the amount of money he gets paid. And yeah, the CEO signs off on it at the end of the day. He is basically the standalone figurehead for all of the wrong and maybe all of the right that the company is engaging in. The CEO is just as responsible for...
You're accountable. So, like, if there are illegal actions or something taking place, sure. But, like, accountable in a way that you can murder him if you don't agree with the law or how the job is, like, okay.
The debts as Charles Manson is. He doesn't have to pull the trigger, but that's it. The difference between Charles Manson and the CEO, however, is that...
But the difference is that for Charles Manson, like, people committing suicide en masse and, like, leading cults and shit, I'm pretty sure these things are illegal in the United States of America. You can't do this. This is illegal. You're not allowed to do that. It's illegal.
The CEO gets money off of making sure the profit margins stay at least 6%, okay? But the process in which those profit margins get up to 6%, there are a shit ton of denials, okay? There are a shit ton of denials. And those denials are absolutely, those denials are absolutely causing so much pain, so much suffering. This is before...
So every single denial is wrong, or every single denial is... Like, all of them are bad. Like, you have no idea. You don't even have a basis for comparison. And remember, you can only have your administrative costs as 20% of your total expenditures, right? So you're limited to you're limited in terms of how you can distribute your money. Like, the vast majority of the revenue of an insurance company, of a health insurance company, is paid out in health insurance claims. You can literally look at the financials. Like, it's all public information.
Or we even factor in to the equation the necessity for privatized healthcare. It does not need to exist. Maybe as an alternative, if you already have a pretty fat, pretty robust social safety net in the form of some kind of socialized medicine structure, but that's not where we're at. Just because the CEO is not directly engaging in this process doesn't change that reality. What is this? What is this? I mean, Destiny is right. How can you speak on the insurance industry if you've never had someone who worked in the industry? Don't speak on it. You're right.
You don't have to have somebody who's worked there to speak on it, but at least, like, look up a single fucking anything about it, right?
My apologies. I had no idea how the insurance structure worked. You're right. I have to literally be...
Is there a reason why it's limited to 20%? Has it ever changed? I believe that was part of the ACA. I believe that under the Affordable Care Act, the 80-20 rule, I think, is where it came from. The healthcare law provides 2 ways to hold insurance companies accountable and help keep your costs down. Rate review and the 80-20 rule. Rate review helps protect you from unreasonable rate increases. Insurance companies must now publicly explain any rate increase of 50% or more before raising your premium. This does not apply to grandfathered plans. The 80-20 rule generally requires insurance companies to spend at least 80% of the money they take in from premiums on healthcare costs and quality improvement activities. The other 20% can go to administrative, overhead, and marketing costs. It is the medical loss ratio. I think you can look at their financials. We can look at United Health Group. Are they within that margin? We can see their total operating costs. So I believe that the medical costs operating cost. I don't know what part of these count as administrative things. Cost of product sold, depreciation, and amortization. Earnings from operations, earnings from net earnings, net earnings. This is the total income and the total expenditures, right? Here is the UHC financial doc from pre-ACA if you want to compare before the ACA rule. Wait, hold on. What does costs of products sold mean? I don't know what that means. Costs of products sold. Operating costs. Wouldn't it be income from products sold? Or is this cost of like drugs that they cover or whatever? If the medical costs are 241, 20% of this would be, it's 24 and 24 is 48K. Does this include administrative costs on the provider side? No, this is just for the insurance company, I believe. I don't know what this cost of products sold is. But I think operating cost, I think, is what has to be within 20%, I think, of the 2080 rule. Medical and operating costs. Oh, it was on the same line item. It might be in more details over here somewhere. But, I mean, like, that's the regulation for... If your insurance company doesn't meet its 80/20 target for the year, you'll get back some of the premiums that you paid. You may see the rebate in a number of ways: a rebate check in the mail, a lump sum deposit into the same account that was used to pay the premium. If you paid by credit card or debit card, okay. So if you were to deny too many claims and you're not even paying out enough, you'd have to reimburse the premium payers. So it doesn't really make sense to say that they're like incentivized to deny claims. In a roundabout way, you can kind of make that argument, but I mean, that's the same thing with providers as well, with hospitals and everything too, but...
Work in the industry, don't speak on it. You're right. My apologies. I had no idea how the insurance structure worked. You're right. I have to literally be someone who works in the insurance industry. It seems to me like you are someone who works in the insurance industry. And although you are a low-ranking employee, you somehow feel the pain of this CEO. I don't understand what the fuck's going on there. I'm not a part of the Israeli occupying force, nor have I ever been a part of any sort of military structure, but I think I can offer decent analysis on all of the war crimes that the Israeli government is engaging in. I'm not a chicken, but I know how to make a fucking scrambled egg. This is not a decent counter-argument, chatter. This is yet another major issue that I have with debate lords, where they're just like bad. They're bad at arguing, but they think...
Why? It's okay. It's all theater. It's all theater. It's all theater. This is just Trump. There's just Trump. Like, if you're saying I'm bad, then why not, like, give a counter argument or, like, actually base it in some kind of, like, if I watch the rest of this, do you think he gives, like, a single counter argument to anything I'm saying? Like, why not just, like, give, like, one singular counter argument? Like, just one thing.
Think they're good at arguing because they think that they can LARP like the person that they're watching. It's very strange. That is the dumbest fucking comment you can make.
Like, yeah, okay, I'm an idiot. So tell me why. Like, say just one point, just one thing in here. Oh shit, hold on one second. Okay, sorry. We're right to the part of the video where he tells me why we're wrong about whatever we said.
You're not talking to me, you're talking to him, right? It is a crazy thing to say that, like, well, you don't work in the insurance industry, so you have no idea how this stuff works. You could turn around and tell me what is wrong about my analysis, but just simply hitting it with this blanket statement might make you feel like you have made an intelligent point of contention, but it's not. It's very stupid. It is directly at odds with what I do as a political commentator. Insurance is just a collateralization of risk. Profit should not be a part of it at all. It kind of seems like what you're telling me is we should socialize it. Like, also, the irony here is this conversation. Like, the irony here is you think I have never talked to someone who works in the insurance industry, when perhaps one of the people that DM me the most frequently is Warren Gunnels. Like, literally nonstop. Warren Gunnels is the majority staff director for Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee chairman for Senator Bernie Sanders. Warren Gunnels, in his past at least, was an insurance executive. Like, literally, perhaps the person who DMs me the most frequently. You shouldn't speak on matters regarding trust busting because you're not the chair of the FTC. Yeah. I don't know why this person has not responded.
Is he trying to debate or chatter? People that cite credentials or cite people they've spoken to without being able to summarize their points is the ultimate form of uneducated cringe. If you have access to these people, then you can cite their name while you tell the audience what they've said to bolster the credibility of the argument given. That's acceptable, I think. But if you're just citing the name in the absence of an argument, that's literally, you're just a fallacious appeal to authority. Like, have you not absorbed any information? Well, what is he telling you? Repeat what they've said at least.
So many people, what is this? I found this channel yesterday, dude. People are insane. Hasan, hey, bro, this has 13 subscribers. Why are you fucking showing me this shit? Like, Jesus Christ. Yes, dude, I have fucking rabid and entirely psychotic fucking hate watchers. I know. Some of them you can hear in the broadcast right now. They come in and they chime in and they chirp. What is this? Balls in your court. Hasan, I'm so down. Oh, hell yeah, I'm down as fuck. This misinformation machine. Anyway, let's continue with this
Like,
take.
oh, today, guys, lottery day. If the person that you're approving or denying care for, if their name starts with the letter D, we deny today because D for denial. Fuck them. Make more money today. Or, guys, it's December. You want your Christmas bonuses? Highest denial server or highest denial worker gets a bonus for $40,000. Like, this doesn't happen. The parts of these systems and the employees are working.
Dude, they literally use AI. They use AI with a 90% failure rate, specifically to increase the amount of denials that they were engaging in. And
They didn't use AI with a 90% failure rate. They used AI, and the claim was that for old people on a Medicare extension plan, that 90% of the denials were appealable. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. He's even the limited information that he's reading, he's citing incorrectly. But remember, this is just an allegation. We don't know if this is true because the origination of this allegation is literally from a criminal complaint. And who knows? They didn't have any evidence, unfortunately, for us to evaluate in that criminal complaint. Fuck, I don't know if anybody has a link to it. But this was just alleged in a criminal not even a criminal complaint. It's a civil lawsuit complaint. Like, we don't even know unless there's been more information about it that I couldn't find. I doubt that he's read anything about it, but
they don't have to do it directly. Yes, it is an indirect form of violence. It's just such a weird thing to shadow box against because I don't think most people are making this argument. You're either
it's an indirect form of violence. Does that mean that? Here's what I'm curious about. What if we murder like the owner of a hospital? Like, is he also liable? Or what if we murder a surgeon? Is he also liable? Like, how many people are allowed to be murdered, like, in this chain of events?
they're voluntarily misunderstanding the argument that people are making, or you are deliberately making up a different argument that you think is at least weak enough. It's not one that like any real person believes. And it also does not change the reality on the side of the victims. It's a very strange way to operate. But I guess it's ironic because Destiny and his weirdo fans will always say Hasan is too scared of debate. Okay? He's too scared of debate. He's too afraid, even though I debate plenty. And then they'll follow
Random chatters. Why would you lie and say that? Everybody knows that you are petrified of confrontation. Be honest about it.
up and say, no, he only talks to like dumbasses in his chat, which is ironic because he's calling his own fan base dumbasses because most of those people that fucking chirp at me are usually coming from his fan base. But having said that, at least I'm like responding to a real person in my fucking chat. He's just making this concept up, or rather responding to like, again, someone that he saw on Twitter, like a point that they made that he didn't fully understand. The real purpose here, in my opinion, the real purpose here is to try to address what the actual pressure point is. Okay? It also is pretty crazy. Yeah, the only reason they have to use AI is because they cannot legally instruct humans to deny at the rate they wish to, so they can blame the over-eager AI denials as kinks in the process. Yes, it's plausible deniability. That's all this is. And it's ironic because the other institution that he defends vociferously, Israel, also utilizes a similar structure in the form of lavender AI targeting systems, according to Israeli investigative reporters over at Local Call in 972 magazine.
What the fuck? It's all connected.
The lavender AI targeting system operates in an identical capacity. Most of the AI that is utilized in this day and age is not to actually be correct. It's actually utilized in instances where you can be incorrect. And it's good to be incorrect. Lavender AI targeting systems that create new targets at a rate that is far higher than normal human processing is done deliberately. It's done deliberately because Israel does not care about killing random civilians. This way, they also get an additional way to say, look, we didn't choose to do this. I guess we got it a little wrong. Oopsie.
Are so disconnected from the actual CEOs themselves. The idea that there's like some guy like, oh, deny, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is not how these jobs work.
Who's saying that? I mean, I'm sure there's people that don't fully grasp it, but many people are using the CEO as a placeholder for the awfulness that they've experienced from the insurance industry. And I think the reality of the matter is, yes, the CEO is signing off on all of the fucking awful shit that the company is doing. That's why they get...
I think this was the lawsuit where that 90% error rate came from. This putative class action arises from defendants' illegal deployment of artificial intelligence in place of real medical professionals to wrongfully deny elderly patients care owed to them under Medicare Advantage plans by overriding their treatment physicians' determinations as to medically necessary care based on an AI model that defendants know has a 90% error rate. I don't know where they get this 90% number. They never really... it doesn't show up in this lawsuit at all. To be fair, though, this is just a complaint. This is the first filing. They might have this access to this information, and they said that it's not necessary, or they felt like it wasn't necessary to put in the complaint. It's possible. But I don't have access to this, so I can't make a determination for where they get this error rate from.
they get paid $10 million a year.
But it's not. They're not doing. They're not denying 90% of claims. This is just a 90% error rate on denials for elderly patients who are have care owed to them under the Medicare Advantage plans, which also might still be bad. I just don't have enough information on it.
CEO did at least. I wonder what compels someone like Destiny to be so aggressively a status quo defender. I genuinely don't understand it. Like, there was a point in time when he wasn't rich. You know what I mean? It's not like he's super far removed from being fucking broke. He has no values or morals or ethics. He goes to the win. Yeah, no, desperation to be the adult in the room and unwavering belief in institutions / hierarchies. I know, but like, this isn't an adult-like attitude to have. This is actually an idealistic attitude to have. I'll explain. The American healthcare structure, the American for-profit healthcare structure is like fundamentally busted, okay? It's the most expensive and it has some of the shittiest outcomes. It is not a system that needs to exist at all, but even in comparable countries where there are some at least like gap covering private healthcare providers, they're still heavily regulated. They're far cheaper overall. It's a shitty mediator that does not need to exist, especially in the United States of America. It would be far cheaper to the American public if we had abolished it in its entirety. And if you work in the private healthcare system and you're like, well, Hasan, I'm gonna lose my job. First of all, that's not even the case. Unless you are quite literally a CEO, you are most likely not in a replaceable position. You are ironically doing something that the government is still going to have to do, depending on whichever way.
Wait. So every single person in the private health insurance industry is going to be able to keep their jobs, but somehow we're going to save a whole bunch of money on it by socializing it? Where's the saved money going to come from? What?
You are most likely not in a replaceable position. You are ironically doing something that the government is still going to have to do, depending on whichever way we change the healthcare structure to be more ethical, or rather, I'll use a term that people care about, efficient. CEOs are replaceable too. Yes, they are. Trust me, I know. I'm just saying that like CEOs in that situation would most likely not exist, whereas the paper pusher still would. Someone still needs to process claims. Someone still needs to file paperwork. So your job, regardless of the private or public structure, would most likely still exist, or at least some form of your job would still exist.
Just so you know, the CEO is also a paper pusher. Like when you talk about the profits of a company, that's not CEO compensation. The CEO is not getting paid the profits. The CEO is also an employee who is like, that's a cost of doing business, is the wages that you, or the compensation that you have for the CEO. So he's also part of the management structure. He's just at the very top, but I guess it's arbitrarily, we just cut it out. What about like is every C-level exec going to go? But like the step down is all of those people are necessary, or like it.
CEO's job, on the other hand, would not. Like, as someone who has direct personal connections, someone who's an executive in the industry, he's so objectively wrong, it's insane. Yeah, I know. I don't get it. Like, I don't understand why this is something that he chose to argue on. He's so pressed on defending the insurance system in the U.S. What does he gain out of this from defending it so hard? The majority of people in the U.S. hate the insurance system. He has nothing to gain from defending it at all. I have no clue. I guess he likes being a contrarian. He also has some pretty terrible takes on Palestine lately. Lately, probably. He and his community just like to debate. If Hasan was making this exact point, you can bet his fans will be on the other side. I like that random people know that, like, he just takes the contrarian position to whatever the fuck my opinion is. Like, I don't think that's the case.
Little bro. Okay.
I don't fully understand what the ambitions are here, what the motivations are here. I don't think I'll ever understand it.
Can you explain how a CEO gets paid? CEO compensation can be done in a lot of different ways. It could be done directly through wages, like you pay them a paycheck. They could be done through, you could do like stock options or compensation. I think that's a little bit more of a popular way to do things. I'm sure there are probably other payment schemes I'm just not aware of. It also probably depends on the industry as well.
It is a very strange way to operate. He's violently afraid of being wrong, so he's trying to stay safe. That's really interesting. If he was violently afraid of being wrong, you should probably agree with me a lot more. Because, lo and behold, you might not agree with this, but I feel like I'm vindicated quite frequently. It takes time, but it always happens at the end.
When? What?
But yeah, he is just wrong in general. It's just how you make money. This is how private healthcare works. They make money doing everything in their physical power to make sure you don't get the proper coverage. Anyway.
That's not true at all, but okay.
I've seen fan claim you earn millions a month on Twitch only. That shit made me laugh. Yeah, they also claim that my dad is a billionaire because they saw some AI articles. That, like I said, being pro-Israel after October 7, once again, you're just going to always have to hold that permanent L. You might over time try to restructure your opinion, but you're holding that permanent fucking L. And that's not the only, that's not the only L that Destiny has held. I mean, he's held other things too. Potentially the hand of a Nazi and maybe some other stuff from a neo-Nazi, but I don't know. Something that I always try to explain. You mean they made AI articles? Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, it's so stupid. You want to know why it's stupid? Because if my dad was a fucking billionaire, like those AI articles suggest he is, he would literally be on every fucking list. He'd be the second, third, fourth wealthiest person in the fucking country, in Turkey. Okay? He would be on lists. And it's really interesting that no one even exercises a little bit of critical thinking because they're so invested. Here's the meta-analysis. Here's the meta-conversation, okay? When you get very passionate, and we do this in this stream as well, I urge you sometimes, when something seems so perfect, when something sounds so good, my immediate reaction to it is like, I'm going to exercise caution. Certain things are too good.
Oh, but when somebody says, oh, well, if we just socialize healthcare in the United States, every single fucking problem will be fixed immediately. That doesn't sound too good? Or?
Good to be true. Socialist with a billionaire father. Sounds like something that might be too good to be true. Now, I'm my own person. So regardless of my father's opinions, beliefs, or financial status, that still wouldn't really matter in this conversation, but at least it would matter for the memes, right? And what these people should do is maybe engage in a little bit of critical thinking, but they can't because they're so excited. They're so excited and so invested, right? That they don't realize that this causes many people to lose sight of that muscle that you normally are supposed to exercise, the critical thinking muscle. That's the problem, okay? So,
like critical thinking muscle, like I'm not invested at all. I don't give a fuck. I don't care about the insurance companies or the CEOs or whatever. If socialized healthcare or single payer, which by the way, I think is a superior option than what we have now, I support that, right? And if new data came out tomorrow showing that a fully privatized system is better, I would support that. And if new data came out tomorrow saying we should abolish literally all private health, I would support that. I don't really care. Little bro, you're the one who is totally locked into whatever bullshit on your side is. You could never, ever, ever change your option to be anything more market friendly. You can't do it. You're literally audience captured.
So these people who are very invested, in like finding the truth, and the best possible way to find the truth is through spirited debate. Like they end up shutting off certain parts of their minds that under normal circumstances would cause them to be a little bit more critical with certain narratives that sound too good to be true.
Holy shit. Wait, is he stealing every talking point of mine? Yeah, your brain is ordinarily working, but when it comes to certain political conversation topics, your like brain shuts down. Jesus.
Off certain parts of their minds that under normal circumstances would cause them to be a little bit more critical with certain narratives that sound too good to be true. Okay, that's it. This is something that I talked to with Ta-Nehisi Coates about yesterday. With regards, the topic was in regards to Israel, but like, there's only so much that you can be wrong on until you just are wrong all the time and you are no longer interested in the truth whatsoever and you find yourself seeking out conspiracies further and further. Okay, and you become like a QAnon supporter basically. Or after the fourth
just name one thing I'm wrong on. We still got 3 more minutes.
time, you're like, okay, instead of spiraling out of control and seeping further and further into madness, I should exercise a little bit of caution and really reconsider some of my first principles, some of my immediate lapses of judgment. That is the problem. And I think a lot of the debate space in general is so hyper focused on being right and
how can you listen to this? How can his fans listen to him say the same thing over and over again? Name a point that we're wrong about. Are you just going to say the same thing? They hyperfixate on being right, and then they shut off the logical part of the brain, and then they're hyperfixated on being right, and then their brain shuts off, and then they are so contrarian, and they're hyperfixated, and they're contrarian, and they're hyper, can you name something? Like, do an actual point.
Or at least like appearing right and defeating and humiliating your interlocutors in the marketplace of ideas, that you just have no interest in finding out the truth at all. And slowly but surely, you go further and further into trafficking in falsehoods. Because as long as your in-group is repeating those falsehoods, then it might as well be correct. After all, everyone around me thinks it's correct. You know, kind of how very postmodern of you, kind of like how you said you would end up eventually right in the end. I thought facts didn't matter as much as stories. Yes, I'm talking about the dangers of this. Do you just hear me say, unfortunately, narrative trumps the truth? Unfortunately, narrative is more important than the facts. And you think, oh, he believes this? Instead of hearing the things that come after that, which is, this is me telling you to exercise caution. Sometimes I think people are too stupid to have a conversation with. This person, I believe, is one of those people. It's really, really interesting that people go into the debate space because they want to repeat what they think are intellectually sound arguments. Everyone wants to be smart. People in this community do it. I do it as well, okay? Everyone wants to be smart.
What? Then name one of them. I don't understand how we can go through an entire thing here. To be fair, I didn't watch the whole video. We just started it like a little over halfway through. Just name a single point. It should be really easy. Like how when Hasan brought up the 90% point, I was able to immediately point out where that came from. Well, he doesn't know where it comes from. I'm sorry. He probably got it off of a tweet. He's never opened this complaint in his life. Or I'm sorry, it's not a complaint. It's a civil action. Oh, no, it is a complaint. I'm sorry. Class action complaint. He's never seen this document before. He has no idea where that 90% claim comes from, right? But like that, so that's a specific thing that I think he's incorrect about. And I clarified because I can show in the complaint where it comes from. Like, give me a thing that we're incorrect about. Like, that's so easy.
Everyone knows that maybe they're not that smart, but at least they want to appear smart. Okay? Now, I recognize I'm a dumbass, and I repeat that fact all the time. People in this community do it. People in Destiny's community do it. Everyone does it. People that read New York Times articles do it as well. Everybody does it. But the problem is when people are so predisposed with appearing smart and repeating a person's takes that has...
He's literally repeating the same shit over and over again. Is he not going to say anything? Is he just going to do it over and over again?
Consistently been wrong. They don't realize that, they're not coming across as intelligent at all. Maybe rhetorically you can bully your interlocutor in that moment. Okay? But you're still wrong. This guy literally is a go-getter. Like, I can't believe we are yelling at people now for being go-getters. Like, he's a real type A personality, dude. Look, why did he write that? Okay, first of all, I think we just had a conversation about how it's not weird to have notes like that on your notes app, on your phone. So I think, to each their own, okay? To each their own. I think you got to cool it a little bit with whatever people decide to write in their notes app.
Not quote-unquote innocence. Also new this morning, disturbing video of what appears to be posters popping up around New York City for other health executives. All of this as a suspect's lawyer is now speaking out about offers they say they've received to pay from outside to pay for his legal fees.
Obviously, my client appreciates the support that he has, but I don't know. I'd have to look into it. It just doesn't sit right with me, really. The Supreme Court says, all these rich billionaires can give all kind of money to candidates, and that's free speech. So maybe these people are exercising their right to free speech and saying that's the way they're supporting my client.
Joining us right now, CNN Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst John Miller, CNN Law Enforcement Contributor Steve Moore, also here with me. John, this is your new reporting. This is a big deal. This is the first positive forensic match that we know of. Walk us through what you've learned.
So, fingerprints collected at the scene of the Thompson from a plastic water bottle, from a discarded cell phone. This had to be the same gun. They would have to.
Just a logistical kind of obstacle that needs to be overcome in order to get confirmation or not that ballistics match, do you think? Or
the gun is actually the charge that they are holding him on in Pennsylvania. So that evidence needs to stay with him because, they're the ones who have him in custody, and he has not waived extradition, which...
In disagreements. What?
Hello.
Hello.
So I want to say that with the AI thing specifically. Hello.
Hello? You probably have the stream open in the background.
Sorry, I did. I just closed it. So with the AI thing specifically, you're totally right with people not reading and getting the information on that lawsuit and all. But I think one thing that you are missing is like just the general ick when it comes to having AI algorithms determine like even having any hand in the process, because AI has been one specific example would be showing that AI is remarkably terrible at actually like identifying anything, like the way that it when they train AI to recognize cancer or like skin lesions and stuff like that, because of the way they train these models, the AI eventually learned that any picture that has a ruler in it must be cancer, right?
Okay, wait.
Even on
Just as a quick sanity check, you know that prior to AI or whatever, they're probably using like other algorithms or things. They're not running through every single claim manually. They're probably not all being human checked. There's probably like a lot of scripting that automatically does something.
I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is that just the fact that they are employing an AI for any specific cohort, any cohort at all, that has a 90% rate of overturned denials is where people get this like ick with AI from, and why it seems so egregious.
Wait. So wait. So then is the issue the AI or is the issue the 90% appealable denials?
The issue is the AI.
Okay,
right?
so then don't bring up the 90% appealable denials. So what? So are algorithms okay and just AI is bad, or?
I can't really say that for sure. I'm not coming in as an expert saying like I know exactly where my particular ick comes from. I'm just saying that the most of the people making this argument against AI are like you say all the time, when people make an argument against that something is bad, that they can't really like articulate why they think it's bad. This is a perfect example of that, right? Where
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. Yeah, that people say this and then people get icky feelings because they're retarded and nobody's explaining anything. But what do you want me to say to that? I can't, like, that it feels icky. Yeah, it always feels icky. But what am I?
Well,
I mean, that doesn't make it a good argument.
Right, but here's why I get to that, right? Like, people not being able to properly articulate where they're getting this ick from in regards to this argument. And the fact of, like, you make the argument that Dan Clancy is responsible in part for the climate at Twitch that allows the perpetuation of anti-Semitism, right? But somehow Brian Thompson isn't responsible for the climate at United Healthcare Group that is responsible for this type of distrust from his company and the institution as a whole. Like,
yeah, so there's two huge differences here. There's two huge differences. So one, on the punishment side, no one is talking about murdering Dan Clancy, number one. So that's already a completely broken analogy, because if Brian Thompson got fired for this, one, we wouldn't even be talking about it. Two, I don't know if I would even have an issue with it if there was something wrong. Okay, so on one thing, we've got a huge difference there, is that nobody's talking about murdering Dan Clancy. Number two, we haven't even demonstrated that the company is doing something wrong yet. All you've told me is there's an ick. I don't even know if they're doing something that's incorrect.
Wait, hold on. So are we saying that because somebody murdered Brian Thompson, then that means everybody felt this way beforehand, and there aren't people who think that Dan Clancy should be murdered for perpetuating anti-Semitism? Because I would argue that there are lots of people who would argue that Dan Clancy deserves to be murdered for perpetuating anti-Semitism. But the only difference here is that Brian Thompson.
I'm not defending those people though, and I don't know who is defending those people. It's a totally nobody is, or if there are people, people would say they're unhinged or insane.
Okay, but what I'm getting at is that I don't know if I quite agree with the argument that you're making that Brian Thompson is somehow just some innocent bystander in the climate that breeds the type of mistrust that we get with insurance companies. And again, I'm not saying
then what did that? Sure, but then what was the thing that he did that was like illegal or ethically wrong?
Well,
what
okay,
the company is doing?
You would have to imagine that once, okay. If the fact that this lawsuit, whether it's meritorious or not, this lawsuit being brought against United Healthcare for using an AI that has a 90% appeal rate on its denied claims, that had to have been known internally beforehand. And if they were still using that AI when this lawsuit was first brought, then they knew about it before the lawsuit was ever brought, which means Brian Thompson knew that this was being used. And by not doing something about that either prior to this lawsuit or doing something about that prior to it becoming public knowledge, then him being the CEO of the company necessarily means that
but we don't even know. We don't even know. One, we don't know what the baseline is for appeal overturns. Number one, and number two, we don't even know if that 90% number is real. This is just alleged in a class action lawsuit.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, again, I understand and agree with you that the numbers are what matter here. My point is that you can't just say that the people that have an issue with the way that healthcare systems are run or the healthcare companies are run and have a problem and believe that CEOs are being nefarious if you don't and then want to make the argument that people are mad about things that they don't know how to articulate while disconnecting those two facts. Right. The fact that Brian Thompson knew that this, if we believe at least the substance of the claim, not necessarily the specific number, but if we believe the substance of the claim that they were allowing the use of an AI for initial claim denials, then Brian Thompson knew about that, and his inaction to change that is a tacit approval of that behavior, and that's why people are mad.
That's fine, but people, we don't even know where. Again, we don't know where that number comes from. We're not talking about like if this is true, then this could happen, and then maybe he could be fired. We're talking about like justifying a guy being murdered. We've no.
Well, by that same token, you're calling people retarded for information that they haven't had a chance to prove in court yet.
If you're acting like it's a good justification to murder somebody, yes, I will call you retarded.
I'm not acting like it's a good justification to murder somebody. I'm not saying that any of the justifications that have been made to murder him have been good. All I am arguing for is what appears to be, and I know you're too fucking smart for this, but what appears to be an intentionally dense refutation of one of your own arguments as to why people can't make cogent arguments as to why they're mad about things.
You're mixing up so many different things I've said. I can understand why somebody would be upset about a thing while also saying that the reason they're mad is retarded. That's my biggest criticism. I understand why people were mad after the housing collapse in 2007, 2008. I understand why people were mad about black people getting killed by cops. But my biggest criticisms of like Occupy Wall Street and defund the police is that it was just a bunch of misdirected anger. Nothing came from either of those two movements. And that's what's going to happen with this healthcare thing. Nothing will change in the United States about healthcare as a result of this. And instead of having productive conversations about ways that you might be able to cut the costs of healthcare administration or cut bloat or whatever the fuck else you want to say, it's just going to be a bunch of people soy jerking about killing fucking CEOs, and people are going to feel happy about it for a little bit, and they're going to move on to the next thing in a month, and that's it, and nothing changed. So it's irritating to see all the misdirected anger that's being led by people that should know better.
I absolutely agree with you, but
no, you don't agree with me. You're making justifications and excuses for all of the people having these feelings. At the very least, content creators shouldn't be leading this. They should be doing more homework. We get paid millions of dollars. Why would we not do like a modicum of homework around this? Like,
do you equate those that still have distrust with healthcare as a whole to the same unhinged losers that think that we should murder all CEOs? Are you equating those two cohorts?
No, I don't think I'm equating them. My criticism right now is over content creators. We're watching Hasan Piker, who are making dubious claims or uninformed or unsubstantiated claims about a particular guy in a healthcare scenario that one isn't even accurate. And then as a result of that, two, steals oxygen from good criticisms of healthcare. And then three means that it's just a bunch of misdirected anger that these guys make money on. And then we just go on and we do nothing about it. It's not good. It's all bad shit.
Okay. Do you think that the criticism of the tacit approval of using AI for approval claims, do you think that's a valid criticism to make?
No, you need data to back that up.
Okay.
What if the AI approval was 80% more accurate than human approval and denial? Would you think it's good then, or would you still think it's bad?
I would have to see those numbers, right?
I'm asking you. Let's say that it was the case that the AI was more accurate than humans going over things. Would you say the AI is good or the AI is bad?
If it was more accurate, then it would be good. But
Okay,
I have every reason to believe that AI are not better at that, because the evidence that I have seen about an AI's ability to assess data or to parse data is infinitely worse than a human trained in that same field.
Infinitely worse? In what way? You have no data at all. What evidence do you even have about this?
Okay, how about the example that I gave you about AI being recognizing medical photos with rulers in
So
them?
one, I don't even know if that's true. I could go look it up. My guess is you're probably misciting that. But two, these AI aren't being tasked with making medical diagnoses. They're just being tasked with whether or not you approve or deny a claim.
Do you think that a medical diagnosis is important to whether or not that claim is valid or not?
Yes, but I don't think that part of doing the claim denial or appeal has to do with the adjusters or the insurance company going back and re-examining your x-rays and trying to figure out if they're going to diagnose you or not.
Then how does the insurance company decide what is deniable and what's not otherwise?
There's probably a claim that's filed. They check your insurance to see what's covered. They probably check whatever standards of care they support or approve. They probably check for other contraindications or whatever like that, and then they approve or deny based on that. Do you think? Wait. Do you think that the approval or denial is based on them like re-diagnosing a patient?
No, I think that they're hold on, I'm wording this really badly. I think that they don't factor in the diagnosis that the doctor gives a lot of the time.
Hold on.
Okay.
How could you possibly approve or deny a claim if you're not factoring in the diagnosis from the healthcare provider?
So if the healthcare provider comes back and says, and this is a claim being made. I wish I could find the article to link you to. Maybe one of the chatters can find it, but the repeated denials of there's one specific anti-seizure medication that is denied as initial use, even though it is proven to be effective against a specific type of I think it's either like some type of cancer that causes seizures or something like that. But when dealing with claims around this specific illness, most insurance policies state that a less effective medication must be used and tried before approval of the more expensive, more effective medication can be used.
Okay, that sounds like a normal, ordinary thing. What do you mean?
So it's normal and ordinary for a healthcare, an insurance company to deny a more effective medication because a less effective medication is cheaper to use first. So basically what you're saying is as long as, how old are you? 35.
Can you give me like what random, like in the broadest sense that you're comfortable with? What do you do for work?
I am a water restoration tech. I used to do what you do.
Okay.
Or what you use.
You're a water restoration tech. I bet when you like water damage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, water damage, fire damage, mold, all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you go into a home and you're suggesting things that people could do for repair or things that people could do for, prevention, I doubt that you go in and you recommend the most extreme version of whatever you could recommend. So like, for instance, in a water damage job, I'm sure you put the water detectors on the drywall to see how far up the water has gone. And maybe you'll cut 6 inches above, and then you'll come back and you'll measure to make sure that moisture or mold hasn't grown. You wouldn't say we should replace all the drywall, right? You would do the cheapest option that's effective for the job. Wouldn't that be how you would approach every single job?
Yeah, well, I mean, but again, this isn't, one, you are right here. But the alternative here is that if we don't cut up far enough, then there's just a little bit of extra moldy drywall that we have to go back later and cut out.
Yeah.
In this specific scenario with these anti-seizure medications, the result is potentially thousands of children having to endure endure continuing seizures on a less effective medication so that they could prove to the insurance company that this more effective medication should have been used to begin with.
Sure, but if the more effective, yes, but if the more effective medication is way more expensive, then that means less people are going to have access to it because now you're paying out a claim that is 20x the cost of the other one. So generally, you start with the cheapest, usually the lowest side effect, and sometimes not the most effective option first. You try that, and if it doesn't work, then you move on to the next thing. It's very rare, even in the medical world, even if you had infinite money, it's pretty rare that you start with the most extreme version of a thing. This is why doctors will usually, for ADHD, they might prescribe like Ritalin or Concerta before they try, like Adderall or Vyvanse. Or somebody might prescribe like a weaker, lesser thing before they move, like some kind of SNRI or whatever, before they move on to like a more hardcore SSRI. Like generally in prescriptions, people do this. They'll start with like the easiest option. Usually that's the cheapest. They might try like a generic or whatever before they go on to like a more extreme option. That's pretty normal. You want to save money because you don't have infinite money and resources to buy everything. Like, isn't this just an ordinary process for literally every single thing ever?
But to generalize it like that and to say that there should never be any exceptions to that practice when it comes to something like healthcare is like,
I'm sure there are exceptions. If it's like a life-saving medication and they're like, well, let's just try diet and exercise first, I'm sure that they wouldn't do that. But generally for any given like illness or for a lot of things, there are levels of like, where do we start and where do we end? And you don't always prescribe the most extreme thing first, right?
I mean, I agree with you, but again, we're talking about people's health here.
Sure,
like
but there's a cost to everything though, right? It's not free. Like this stuff costs money.
Wait, do you agree that monetary cost is equivalent to human cost? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Unfortunately, there is an equivalency there. Do you know what triage means? You know that like during COVID-19, when more patients are brought into a hospital than you have beds available, that they have to make decisions about who they can even treat, right? These are healthcare is not an unlimited resource in our country where every single person can have every single thing at the maximum thing at all points in time. You have to make decisions. Every healthcare system in the world has to make these decisions. Even France and Germany and the UK, Canada, everybody else has to make these decisions. Yes.
But we're not talking about pushing people out of the ER who have colds for people who are losing limbs. We're talking about insurance companies subjecting people to unnecessary suffering to make them try a cheaper option first. And you're 100% right. The whole healthcare system only works when the healthy basically subsidize the cost of those that are actually consuming the healthcare, right? I agree with you there. That works, right? But
if you gave the most expensive thing to everybody, then how much would that affect all of our premiums, right? What if like half the people were really just fine on the cheaper medication? Wouldn't it make sense to?
Whoa. Are you? So the one example that I brought up was a pretty niche example, a pretty specific example, right? And the amount of extra cost for that insurance company to pay out those claims, do you like that would be negligible to the amount of actual revenue or money or cash flow through this entire entity across the entire sector, right?
Maybe for that one drug, maybe. But if that was the rule that we're always going to start a patient off on the most expensive drug first, then no, it would probably be substantially more expensive.
But we're not talking. Okay, I don't think.
Here's a question. Let's say that you had a drug, an expensive version, 20% of people needed, but the cheaper version, 80% of people were fine on. Would it make more sense to start 100% of people off on the cheaper drug, and then for the 20% of people, but it's not super effective, you move them up to the other one? Or would you start 100% of people off on the more expensive drug and then try to move them down to the cheaper one?
Well, in that hypothetical, I would agree, but the counterfactual here would be, what if the cheaper drug was only 40% effective and it took it took 2 months to discover whether or not it was effective or not, but the more expensive drug that was like, let's say 20% extra cost was 90% effective, and you could discover and you figured out whether or not that drug was effective in a third of the time, right?
I think that in that case, My guess would be that you'd probably just do the more expensive one first. But my guess is going to be the difference between two drugs like this is usually like an order of magnitude in cost. It'll be like, here's the tried and true version. This works for most people, but not everybody. This drug is like $8 a pill, but there's also a brand new one that's way more effective, but it's like $150 a pill. Usually the difference in cost is huge. It's not like 20, like this treatment would be $100 a month and this is $120 a month. Usually the difference is because like the newer stuff will be patented. It'll be using newer technologies. Like it's usually way more expensive.
So are you saying that all diabetics or that need insulin should be started off on the older, shittier public option insulin until they lose a foot and then they get the good synthetic stuff, or what?
No, because the older insulin we know is dog shit. That's not like some percentage of people will do better on the older insulin. That's just bad insulin. So you always, when you're prescribing insulin, start off with the synthetic versions now.
Okay.
But like I'm sure a doctor would probably prescribe. My guess is that like Adderall is probably cheaper than Vyvanse. So I think they start you off with Adderall. If you're on the amphetamine level, they're probably going to start you off with Adderall before prescribing Vyvanse. And they'd probably prescribe you a generic version of Vyvanse before they would give you like the prescription version, because you'd say it's just cheaper. And your insurance company might say, we're not going to cover this until you've tried this first, which I think is fair.
Well, in that specific, that's actually what my wife did. My wife was on Adderall for ADHD and literally just got switched over to Vyvanse like a month ago. But yes, again, like I very broadly speaking, I agree with you, right? Like your general take over like how healthcare should work, how we make it work, how we make it financially responsible, the fact that the amount of like the profit margin on these companies, I agree with you. All of that is overblown, right? 100% agree with you there. But I think that where I find particular umbrage with the arguments that you make is claiming that everybody who like disagrees with how this generality is applied across the entire sector, when it comes to healthcare, it's very clear that there are sometimes exceptions, but these exceptions are never treated as exceptions until there has been, I mean, what some people would consider an undue human cost and an undue amount of suffering if the insurance companies would have just listened to those people or those doctors to begin with.
Yeah, but
right?
you have to weigh all these things against each other, because if we say we're just going to prescribe the most expensive one first, then that means you're making the decision that less people are probably going to be covered because insurance is going to be more expensive and not everybody's even going to be able to afford the premiums at that point. Because now we're covering like the latest designer drug for whatever particular thing. Like there are countries that don't have access to like entire groups of drugs because the country itself is like, this works good enough. Like you don't need this.
Okay, so because of the like, I mean, from what I understand, most of the bloated cost of healthcare is because of like the administrative, right?
I didn't say that. Other people might say that. I don't think that's true. Okay.
I never said you said that.
Okay, just make sure.
But that's what I understand. Me being retarded and all.
That's okay.
So, the argument could be made, right? Like, what if let's say, I know you're not a socialist, but what if we did a more socialized version of healthcare, like we did single payer, and we had to pay the same amount, and the profit margins were the same, but those administrative costs from all of the hospital administrators and all of the insurance company administrators and all of these various things were basically redeployed to deal with.
People speak emotively about these issues. Okay,
right.
If you were to do single payer in the United States, I think that it probably would help quite a bit. Okay, I'm a proponent of at the very least a public option, if not single payer. But if you even think in your mind, just think about the things that are being said when people are complaining about healthcare costs in the United States. It doesn't even make sense. Like, even if I were to grant the most extreme hypothetical, and even the people who are proponents of single payer don't make this extreme of a claim. But let's say I were to say, if we did single payer, it would cut our healthcare costs in half by 50%. Most people aren't complaining that their healthcare is 2 times as much as they can afford. They're saying it's like 100 times as much as they can afford. You think when people post screenshots of their visit to the ER and they've got to pay like $20,000 for a CT scan and like a 2-day stay, that if that $20,000 bill were $10,000, that all of a sudden it'd be manageable? Like, this is not the issue in the United States. It's not the administrative burden. It would help if we had single payer. It's the fact that, and you've alluded to it unintentionally in this conversation, that Americans are obsessed with having the latest, best designer drug for any possible issue ever, and that if they don't have that, they're being fucked. And if we were to have a socialized healthcare system, your biggest cost saving is not in administrative bloat, it's not in CEO pay, and it's not in the compensation that shareholders are getting in the form of profit. It would be in saying, listen, you don't actually need that drug that only works on 10% of people with a 90% of cost. We are all going to be fine with this one, unless you want to pay more for private insurance.
I mean, isn't that what most single payer systems have? Like, I think, both the NIH, the Canadian healthcare system, all of that, isn't that all like single payer at base with like, and as I understand it, both the UK and Canada have like very like thriving private insurance companies. Like,
they have private insurance as well, but their medical systems also have issues as well too. Like, nobody's medical system is like perfect. I think that what?
That's obvious. But my biggest point, I don't want to take up like too much of your time here. But basically, what I was trying to get at is like sometimes when these very broad generalizations that you make, while are correct in like the broadest strokes, I think it like misses the forest for the trees as to why everybody has these like. They are so distrustful of most insurance companies.
But I understand. I know why, but I know why people say they are. But the why and why people say they are two totally different things. When you ask people why why do they say they are, then yeah, they'll talk about administrative bloat and profit and blah, 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 blah. But what people don't realize is because Americans are spoiled. We are on a lot of different things. Americans think that a person should be able to graduate college and buy a house in a major city. If you go to Europe and you ask people that, do you think that after you, what do you think you need to do to buy a house in Paris or in Madrid or in Stockholm or in London? Like, they'll tell you, you either need to be a trillionaire or you need to like move out into you're moving way out of the city. You're not buying a house in the city. But Americans have different expectations for our standards of living. Same thing when it comes to healthcare. An American will tell you that, if I go to get my wisdom tooth removed, I need to be put under for that. And a European will say, give me a shot and fucking yank my shit out. Like, Americans just have different expectations when it comes to treatment. And they think that they can have the same, even when it comes to climate change. That's a scroll of truth meme, right? If you really want to combat climate change as an American, it's probably going to come with a reduced amount of consumption as well. But Americans don't want to hear that. They want to consume the same, but have it be cheaper and just as fast and the same quality and do less damage to the environment and everything. But you probably just can't do that. But America just has that expectation.
I agree with you. Do you think that I don't know. I'm not. No, never mind. I'm not gonna ask that. That's a really shitty thing to ask. Never mind.
Ask away. I don't care. Go for it.
I was gonna say, do you think that basically calling anybody to the left of you on this issue just like blanket retarded and like the whole if you agree with me, you're not agreeing with me for the reason that you think you like. Do you think like that's the right way to go about like?
I don't care if people. I don't care if people agree or disagree. There are people that are probably to the left of me and to the right of me. There are extreme free market guys that maybe make okay arguments about healthcare, and there are people way to the left of me that like the Bernie Sanders single payer thing that probably make good arguments. My only issue is the analysis. If you think that all of the healthcare costs in the United States because of overpaid CEOs and profit, then that's retarded. It doesn't matter if you're to the left or right or on the same position as me. It's just it's a bad factual analysis of what the problems even are. That's my issue. That's the only thing I get irritated about.
Fair enough.
But okay. All right. I love you, buddy.
All right. Thanks. Love you.
He literally had real life experience with moving on to a different drug in the form of his wife, and then even his job. He understands. That's an American thing, though. Okay, but that was an American statement, right? Like, what if there's a drug that's way more expensive, but it's slightly more effective? Why wouldn't everybody be prescribed that drug? That's an American approach to medicine. And it's truly how we think. And it's reflected in the costs that we pay for our healthcare. Like, that's just but that's okay. I don't blame him. Okay, what is this?
So you want a realistic, down-to-earth show that's completely off the wall and swarming with magic robots.
That's right. Yeah, good. And also, you should win things by watching.
You kids don't know what you want. That's why you're still kids, because you're stupid. Just tell me what's wrong with the freaking show.
Mommy.
Well, I don't know what is this. Thank you, though. I get it. Okay.
Which basically says, I'm not going to New York, where they would then turn over all that evidence to New York City and then have them do those tests. But they understand, they are in it for the long game. They don't need to know that tomorrow or the next day, and it gives them more time to do the background investigation they're still doing, which includes mundane things, but very necessary things like completing the video canvas, tightening up that map where they can show a picture of him almost through every step of his New York journey.
We're going to get to more of that, but Steve, let me bring you in on this. Just the importance of what...
Creeps. That's creepy. You don't have to do that. You should stop doing that right now. That's creepy. You know what I mean? That's just weird, man. That's weirdo behavior. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. Ew. There's a word for that. It's illegal. It's called stalking, okay? It's called stalking, chat. Is he gonna...
Destiny's just wrong on this. What is his evidence that people want the latest? Do you think the guy who has to pay $20K for a day in a public hospital thinks he's glad that he gets something 1% better? That just seems to be what America... I mean, like, even... like, I can appeal to the bullshit poll in my chat. Maybe we could look up stats on who does... That's just the one example for the wisdom teeth removal. I'm pretty sure for drug availability in general, like in the United States, I'm pretty sure we had access to and we demand things like amphetamines more than like other types of stimulant medication just because they have slightly better outcomes. But like realistically at a population level, you're probably just as okay with like mass Ritalin versus mass Adderall. And then... oh, fuck, there was one other example. Oh, like in the United States, like people will say out of hand that it's evil that some people will take an Uber instead of an ambulance, when I'm pretty sure it's more normal, and I could be wrong, I'm generalizing, but maybe, I don't know, that like in Europe, like people will think like, okay, well, do I need an ambulance right now or can I like drive to the hospital? Whereas like in America, it's like okay, I have a cold and when I breathe, I wheeze a little bit. It's like I need to call the hospital for my kid. Like the way that Americans consume healthcare is just kind of crazy sometimes. We're like very, very, very much like in like a crazy, like super ultra consumer mode. And then we're like, but we also need to be way cheaper too. It is like, I don't know.
You gonna get the life sentence, bro? They're gonna throw the book at this motherfucker at this point, okay? I'll just say it like this. There are a lot of conspiracies running rampant right now with like 285, the number. And as you guys know, I think like recognizing numerical patterns is a telltale sign of schizophrenia. I will say personally, or 286, sorry, not 285. I will say a lot of people are crazy, and that's it.
John Miller has learned about this fingerprint match.
Yeah, as we've learned, something can look like a slam dunk case, but a lawyer can find just niches or cracks in any kind of strong case. And what they're doing now is filling up the cracks. They're eliminating any doubt before they go to trial that this is the person who committed this crime. He's already fighting. He's already shown what he's going to do. He's going to fight every single motion, even a perfunctory extradition motion. So he is.
This is such a strange thing to say, by the way, because like, yeah, no shit. Yeah, he should. Everyone should. Like, I don't understand this idea. Like, even if you're f***ing dead to rights, even if they got you dead to rights, you still should. Why wouldn't you? The entire system is designed to allow you to get off on process. Like, that's the job of a lawyer. Yeah, it's called exercising your f***ing rights, you know?
Going to go quietly on this. So the police are obviously dotting their I's and crossing their T's.
For sure. And John, something that we've talked about, and I guess it still remains, there are so many questions that remain. And I'm wondering if this notebook that we're learning more about kind of adds to this picture is how did this guy know that the CEO was going to be where he was going to be when he was? So, is that where the line of thinking is in investigating how we learn more about that?
There are clues. I mean, you know it because you've been by there, but that New York Hilton Hotel takes up, half of a full city block. It has doors all the way down 53rd Street and all the way down 54th Street and a front door and a rear driveway. That's like 20 entrances you would have.
Well, I mean, it's too big. It's big then. It's big. He could have just randomly touched the doorknob. You know what I mean?
Cover to know where is this guy going to enter the hotel. But you would also have to know about, shooting being the more precise way to take on his target. In one line, he says, and what better way?
That's got to be some middle class shit because there's no shot. Am I paying $500 for an ambulance if I can take an Uber? I think when Americans have good insurance, I'm generalizing a bit from I'm trying to find like if there's like ambulance usage rates throughout the world. But like I know, for instance, my grandma was obsessed. If any of us were like even remotely sick, and my parents too, like we were going to the emergency room every time. Whenever we were like sore throat, emergency room, and then antibiotics every single time. Well, my parents had TRICARE. So it was like free, like everything was fucking free basically for military insurance. But so I mean, as much as people don't like to hear it, like if there's no moral hazard for consuming a thing, sometimes people tend to overconsume, and that's true even for healthcare. So yeah, I don't know.
To take out the CEO than to shoot him at his own quote bean counters conference.
An investor conference is exactly what you could say that is.
Right.
Steve, what do you think? There's so much that is coming out. I mean, this reporting from John is most significant about the forensic that they're now positively IDing. What questions do you have that remain now, Steve, and where you would say, leaning on your experience with the FBI, where you think this investigation focuses a lot of its energy now?
Well,
we have to remember, just like all these CNN fucks are millionaires are making 6 figures yearly. The producers who decide the angle, etc., are all partisan class. It's not that simple. The shooter himself comes from a very wealthy family. I make more money than the fucking average CNN anchor. There's a difference. They are tasked with undermining the truth. They are tasked with defending the established hierarchy. That's it. Like, she's not a capitalist.
Is it all narratives, or does he ever give like a concrete example of anybody saying or doing anything wrong ever? Is this whole channel just like fucking dog shit? Is it a single thing ever?
Owner, she's a wage laborer. Her job
is all of this is like just narrative and story.
I mean, her job gives her a salaried wage. I think this is a matter of. This is more so a matter of like what you're tasked with. Defending capital and the interest of capital and the interest of corporations, or even just the pre-existing social constructs and deflecting the attention away from why people are angry is her primary concern. It's not necessarily her net worth that causes her to feel this way. There are some who operate on that boundary. I think like the likes of Ben Shapiro or whatever. But it's really interesting to think because, like, I mean, Bill Burr also rich. You know what I mean? Bill Burr's a rich guy. He gets it. I'm a well-off guy. I get it. I understand it. I think it's more so about being out of touch with the average person, or rather, not necessarily being out of touch with the average person, but instead, like, defending the preordained, pre-established hierarchies that you are tasked with defending. So your logic, if you're angry, gives you the right to kill CEOs. Sick take. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But I think
Total anecdote, but I'm in Canada. The ambulance is the last resort. I watched with my brother and sister break bones. We load them up in the car and drive them to the hospital. Did DSP say, did he call the ambulance for his girlfriend having a panic attack? Or am I making this up? I'm trying to remember how they got to the hospital.
I go to the hospital. Okay, so I go to the hospital, and I walk in to the front main area, because I don't know where to go. I don't know if they brought her to emergency. I don't know if she's been already, if she's going to be admitted to the hospital. I don't know what's going on, how serious this whole situation is. I have no idea, okay? Fly Eagles Fly, shout out to Fly Eagles Fly, who just did a, just subscribed to the channel, actually. Thank you, Fly Eagles Fly, I appreciate that. So I walk into the hospital, there's an information desk. It's completely empty, there's no one sitting there. You can tell there's 4 chairs, no one there. I guess because it's Sunday, no one works at this hospital or whatever. So I'm looking around, I'm pacing back and forth. What do I do? Who do I talk to? Finally, I find a phone. It says, oh, lift this phone for information. Okay, I pick up the phone. Hello, is this who is this? Can you help me? You know, my girlfriend, I think she's in the hospital somewhere. And they're like, oh, okay, what's her name? I give them the name, like, okay, she's still over in emergency, so go this way and go to emergency. Okay, would have been nice if, you know, there was a fucking human working instead of me having to find a random phone that was hidden in this hallway. So, okay, I go through this lobby, I go to the emergency. So, again, I walk to emergency, now there's a line.
Pretty hard to tell the difference between a heart attack and a panic kill. Please don't. Actually, that should be a permaban. Sorry. Just get the fuck out of my chat. I don't care. Go somewhere else.
And I'm like, well, these are people who are hurt. What do I do? So I get in line.
Like this, you're an American. Like it's only an American. Like God, I hope we get the most rationed healthcare in the fucking universe. I hope we get single payer, and I hope it's as bad as all the conservatives say are. It's such an American. Like, well, you can't really tell the difference between a panic attack and a fucking heart attack, bro. Like, how you don't know if he's asleep or if he had a fucking ischemic stroke. He might be fucking dead, bro. You don't call the ambulance all the time. Like, I hope it happens. It's actually so fucking stupid. Holy shit, you're actually so fucking stupid. Oh my God, dude.
I'm looking around. I wait in line for like 5 minutes, and I realize to my left, way over here, on a tiny little sign, not even like apparent, little sign, it says visitor check-in. I'm like, wow, if only there was a big fucking sign so everyone would know where to go when they walk into this hospital instead of this tiny rinky-dink sign you can't even see from the front door. So if I get out of the line I'm in, I go over there, talk to a security guy, you know, takes me a copy of my license, checks me in. He says, okay, she's down there, she's in room 28. I said, so what's the deal? He says, well, it says here, you know, she had another anxiety attack. Well, not another, because they don't know that she's had them in the past. He says, she had an anxiety attack. Apparently, she's drugged, and she's in this room awaiting a doctor to kind of either come in or whatever. I guess a doctor coming in to check her out. Or, no, actually, I take that back. He said, no, he did say that. He had told me there was a doctor that was checking her out or something like that. And I was like, okay. So I walk through, I go all the way to the back of the emergency area where they've got her in a room, and I go in, and she's conscious, but she's kind of loopy. You can tell they drugged her or something, because she wasn't, no panic or nothing, no anxiety or nothing. She was just like, oh, like loopy like this, right? So I, obviously say you're okay, you didn't fall, you didn't hit your head or nothing, right?
Do Americans really go under to get wisdom teeth removed? That's absolutely foreign to me. Yeah, we pulled my chat, it was like 80%. Is there a way to check? Okay. Percentage of Americans who go under for wisdom teeth extraction. I don't know why I just fucking pulled this or fucking Google the. Is there like a stat on this somewhere? Oh, it's a small study. I'm a vet, but raised working class. My ex-wife is an army brat. Going straight to an emergency room for stuff is definitely a TRICARE bubble kind of thing. We'd go there for the most minor things. Yeah, bro, we went to the emergency room so many times. It was basically like that's just where you go. It's like a first stop. Like if you have a fever, you go to the emergency room. Like fever 101, we're going to the emergency room. It's fucking insane. Maybe that's just a TRICARE thing though. Maybe just a military thing, but I don't know. But listening to Americans in my chat talk about healthcare, it wouldn't surprise me if every fucking American did this. Jesus Christ. Wait, what the fuck is this? Anesthesia use and wisdom teeth removal. 95% use anesthesia, 5% did. Wait, like no anesthesia? 5% of people have their wisdom teeth just like fucking removed raw? The website is .ca? How does that change what I just said? This stat anywhere would be crazy. There's no way. Pain during and after surgery. Crippling discomfort. Prolonged recovery. No shit. This can't be real. Okay, never mind. Wisdom teeth removal without anesthesia is not recommended. What? It's really not as bad as you think? To have somebody slicing your gum open using a drill on a tooth with a fucking nerve in it and then yanking it out of your fucking mouth with no anesthesia? With some ibuprofen and some Tylenol? There's no shot that they do this in a dental setting. No way. Unless you're like a fucking heroin addict or something, right? That's... So I haven't been to the dentist due to my phobia in many years. My dentist needed to come out. My insurance doesn't cover sedation, so I was told I would need to go through with it using needles. This is fine. Local anesthesia is fine. You shouldn't feel like it'll be uncomfortable, but you shouldn't feel like pain, like sharp pain or whatever. It'll just be like uncomfortable. This is fine. I don't even know. This is a fucking meme website. Okay, I don't know. Read the Dr. James quote on the site you were just on. The prospect of performing a wisdom tooth extraction with any form of anesthesia is unimaginable. It's not just about the physical discomfort, but also about the psychological impact on the patient. Yeah, no shit. Who does this? What is Winnipeg? Is that like a city or is that like a fucking province or where is that? What is that? There's no shot. Can you even like request this? Do you have a right as a patient to say that? Like, let's say that you're having like an appendicitis. Do you have a right to say, hey, I want to be awake for this and I don't want any anesthesia? Can you do that? It seems weird that a hospital could force you to go under, but it seems weirder that you could say like, I actually want to, I just want to be awake the whole time.
Yeah.
What's up?
So I think I don't know if the doctor would do it, but I know for sure that you can actually request it. So in the US, when you get a colonoscopy, for some reason, everyone in this country gets it with full anesthesia, right? Like they put you to sleep before they do a colonoscopy.
Sure.
And I was reading online and I was like, I don't know, I was like paranoid for some reason, but I was reading that like most complications with a colonoscopy come from the anesthesia itself. And I read that, like, in Europe, it's rare that they do it or something, or, like, not a huge percent. So when I went to the doctor, I was like, can you just do the colonoscopy without anesthesia? And he was like, you're going to be awake? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I guess. You'll be the first person I've done it on. And he did it. And that was it. And it wasn't pleasant. I'll put it that way.
But I think it's like the worst should be kind of like an equivalent thing of, like, kind of bad cramps, right?
Well, I mean, it feels like your asshole is getting blown out.
Sure.
And then the other part that's really uncomfortable is because apparently how a colonoscopy works is they blow air. It's not just like a camera that goes into your fucking ass. It's also like a tube that blows air to inflate your intestine as it goes and snakes through. Mm-hmm. So you feel like you have to fart more than fucking anything in your entire fucking life that entire time. So yeah, that's basically it. But I was just going to ask, are you, I feel stupid because I said this here, but are you sure that these guys aren't retarded and they're not talking about, like, without local also?
No, this is with all anesthesia.
Who the fuck? Wait. Maybe that 5% is, like, wisdom teeth that are, like, almost completely already extracted by themselves.
Maybe? Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe there's a complication or a reason why they can't. I don't know. I don't even know where this number comes from. It could literally just be a bullshit number.
Like 95 and 5 seems very
it might just
specific.
Based on meticulous research, the numbers lean heavily in favor of using anesthesia, and then they don't cite any of it. This is just like random fucking Canadian. This might just be bullshit. Who knows?
I can't it. People have their wisdom teeth like almost get pushed out sometimes. Like what is that called? Like impacted or something, right?
I thought impacted is the opposite, where like it's growing into your gums or something.
Yeah, like maybe in those cases, like it's like, oh, we don't really. This will be simple. Like I can just pull this out real quick. You ready? Here you go. 1, 2, 3, and it's done. Like maybe 5% of cases are like that, and then that's why they do that. But like mine are fully in correct. Like I don't have to get them removed. I can't imagine them being like, listen, you want me to pull your fucking molars out, your wisdom teeth without any anesthesia? Like, bro, are you for real? There's like roots and shit. Are you high? There's no one can do that. Impacted, even if they're correctly in place, right? That would be.
Yeah, I don't know that. I think that's a meme website. That's I don't believe that stat. There's no shot.
Do you still have yours?
No, I had all 4 of mine pulled.
Why did you have to get them pulled?
I had a little bit of crowd in my front. Just wanted them gone.
Do you have your tonsils? I think like a lot of people have their tonsils removed too, right?
They used to do it a lot more aggressively, but I have mine.
I don't even know what the fuck tonsils are.
I think they do some minor part of your immune system, theorized, I think.
Do we know what is that? Do we know what not the spleen? I feel like there's an organ in our body and we still kind of don't know what it does or something.
Well, for conservative voters, it's called the brain.
That's not what I meant.
You're probably talking about the appendix.
Yeah, do we really not know what the fucking appendix does or what it's used for?
I've heard in the past they used to say it helps you digest raw meat, and now people today theorize that it might help with like your gut bacteria or whatever. But I don't know if
I thought I heard somewhere that like if you're dying, it can release white blood cells or some shit.
I don't know. I haven't heard that. I don't know.
How the fuck can we not know what this thing does? How is that possible?
Well, it might just chill there and do nothing. I don't know.
Do you think that all the people that die and they go to heaven and they don't have an appendix and it's like, shit, you lost your appendix? That was the heaven thing. You needed that.
That's where the soul is, maybe. Yeah, damn.
Maybe it's like literally the heaven organ. And like they're like, damn, bro, why'd you remove that? You need that shit. That shit activates when you come up here, man.
Damn. And then they send you down to hell and you need your tonsils for that, and they don't let you in hell. And those are all the people that go to purgatory. So they've had all their organs removed. They're fucked.
What is purgatory exactly? Like what happens there?
It's supposed to be a place I think where you go for your soul to be cleansed before you go to heaven.
But if you can't ever get into heaven because you sold your appendix, like...
Well, I don't think that purgatory in the Bible works that way. I don't even know if purgatory is mentioned in the Bible, actually. I don't know.
Is it like painful in purgatory? Or
it's purging. I thought the idea is supposed to just be that like every human that I don't even know where this comes from, because again, I'm not even sure purgatory is in the Bible. But I think that like it's supposed, the idea is that like every human has sinned unless you're Mary. Every human has sinned. So before you go to heaven, you need to be free of sin. So purgatory is where you go to purge yourself of sin, and then you go up to heaven, basically.
So it's never really been defined in any of the fucking Jesus books what purgatory is?
I mean, hell hasn't, but we all believe in hell, so...
Wait, really? Hell hasn't been defined?
No, there's no, like, fucking call-outs of, like, hell in... You know, that's some fucking meme shit. I don't know, yeah.
Wait, get the fuck out of here. You're telling me that isn't there, like, there are 4 Bibles or some shit like that? You've read them all, too.
Yeah, the technically there's like 20 plus, but Gospels, but they didn't make the final cut. But yeah, there's 4 Gospels that talk about the life of Jesus, basically.
Okay, and in none of them, they talk about what hell is.
Not really.
They're never like, yo, hell has fire, and there's Satan there, and all that stuff.
No, I think you just like allude to like, what's the most Jesus says? Maybe like you might burn or something. I don't even know if he says that. I'm not sure. But it's like the whole idea of like hell is a place you go if you sin too much or you can't make it into heaven. I don't know where that concept comes from.
There's no fucking... How can it be like that? That in all of, like, Christian shit, there's no, like, action... So why the fuck do we talk about hell and Satan so much if it's not even in the fucking Bible?
I don't know, to scare kids into fucking doing...
Well, where'd it come from?
I don't know. Maybe fucking Dante's Inferno? Apparently that's people were saying it was, like, where purgatory comes from.
People are saying Satan is totally in the Bible. And when I say people, I mean Selco 88.
I think Satan is, yeah. But I don't think...
Well, where does Satan live?
I don't know. He's a goofball on Earth. He tricks people into doing bad things, I think.
Is he in, like, Chicago or something? Or, like, Miami?
He's on his way to the White House now.
Wisconsin? Okay. That's weird. I did not know that. I felt that, like, being a non-Christian man myself, I kind of felt like, I would expect there to be much more discussion of hell and Satan in the Bible. And you telling me that this motherfucker's not even brought up makes me completely question that.
Well, I think there's like there might be like one or two things of like you'll burn or whatever, but there's not like based on what we hear, you would imagine there must be like a whole book or like lots of like detailed descriptions of like what is hell. But I think there's like one or two mentions of it in like the Gospels where Jesus will say you'll either burn or there's like a place where like God doesn't go or whatever. Like, but that's it. There's not like much. I don't know if like hell was conceived of in like all of its wonderful glory until the Dark Ages or some shit. I'm not sure.
Interesting. I feel like I've learned so much.
Yeah, it's pretty cringe.
It's impressive that you remember all of this shit from, like, high school, I guess?
Well, I mean, I was a Catholic high school, so we had to, like, actually study the Bible and bullshit.
That sounds fucking miserable, by the way.
Yeah, it was. It's pretty cringe.
Have you ever... Hey, I'm about to ask something stupid, but I'll ask anyways. Have you ever been to church?
Yeah. Why?
It's really fucking boring. It is really fucking boring. I remember I had to go once with one of my friends for Easter for some reason, and that was the most fucking boring shit of all time. Like, you just sit there, and the dude says something, and then sometimes you have to stand up, and you have to say something, and then you sit back down. And I was just thinking, like, I want to go use my fucking Game Boy. This sucks.
Well, it just depends on the type of church you go to. Like, certain denominations are known for having, like, very boring services. Other denominations have more exciting services, especially for kids. It just depends on, yeah.
Temple is worse. I don't know if I've been to, like, a I don't know if I've been to, like, a temple, like, hey, we're just going to go hang out in temple on Friday or on Saturday or whatever. I don't think I've done that before. I bet that would be worse. You know, the problem is, there's a lot of Jewish lawyers. We like arguing. And I think the Torah and all those books are kind of really made for that. So I just imagine it being very confrontational. I don't know.
What, temple? Or
yeah. Like, it's very, like, very granular. Like, they've, you know, I don't know, like, all the fucking Sabbath rules and all that type of shit. It's just kind of funny. That's all. I don't know. Whatever.
Well,
that shit. So how you doing? What's the deal with these Federalist papers? When's that shit?
Just stuff we read at night. Well, we do a little macro econ course as well. Learning how to do some Excel. Fun times.
Are you going to become as good as Martin Shkreli?
At Excel? Who knows? We'll see. Maybe I can buy the next Wu-Tang album. Yeah.
You've seen that, you know, the famous whatever the fuck it is, right? Video.
No.
Shkreli.
Does he do the speedrunning Excel games or whatever?
Like, I don't remember what it was, but it was some video with him, like, fucking going nuts in Excel, like working out the net worth of a company or something like that. And he knows all of the shit. Like, he may be a fucking memer, but you cannot deny that guy he's like a rectful. He's like retardedly smart in some very strange ways. I don't understand how.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could be smart like that for something.
Well, maybe you need to scam people with your own crypto coin to grow that part of your brain out.
I don't know. Well, he was smart before then. Do you feel like you're smart like that on anything? Like rectful smart? Like, give me fucking...
Yeah, when it comes to fucking chat's moms.
That's it?
Yep.
It's... What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
True.
Yeah. Why does it feel... It feels very forced right now. The old days we would just hang out in here and do nothing.
Well, we do a show every single day, so we talk about, or every week, so we talk about our stuff. I don't have anything to talk about right now. We're gonna watch this jank video turning to Trump. Oh boy.
It just feels not the same, you know? If we talked
Sometimes.
every day back in the day, certainly...
I don't think we ever talked every day back in the day.
I think we talked we were on stream. We were doing COD for a while. That was
we were playing a game, COD, yeah. But otherwise, I'm pretty sure there were times where we went like months between conversations.
Oh, look, there was a year between conversations there sometimes. Well, maybe not a year, but certainly months, sure. Yeah, Mood's dead. Sorry, guys. Unfortunately. Nathan Robinson Lake. That's the guy who runs that fucking super commie thing that got rid of his union, right? That's him?
I think so, yeah.
You talked to that guy and you didn't push him on that.
I didn't bring up that thing, yeah. Okay, I'm watching this video, okay?
Yeah, all right, fine.
Got him.